Welcome, everyone. This is the School District of Prescott Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Subject to Section 1983, Wisconsin statutes. Pledge of Allegiance. Vicki.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is recognition of visitors. Public comment rules. Please approach the podium one at a time, stating your name, municipality, and topic you'd like to address. A lot of time is 3 minutes per individual, or 6 if you're representing a group that is present at the meeting. All comments should be directed to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will not act on any comments that are made during a meeting. The presiding officer may direct the district administrator to follow up with that individual at a later date. The public comment section will be limited to 30 minutes unless board action is taken to extend. And as always, please refer to our full public comment policy listed on the agenda for a full description. Anyone care to approach the podium? All right, we're going to move on. Good news. Kaden?
Good evening. My name is Caden Hillebrand, and I am the school board representative for the student body. For starters, the Intermediate School Student Council had a school supply drive where they collected school supplies to send to Alberttown School in Jamaica. Students at the Intermediate School collected 9 boxes worth of supplies. Furthermore, both the middle school choir and band had concerts this week. Also within the middle school, the Student Ambassador Leadership Team, or SALT, went down to the Prescott Elementary School on March 9th to assist with their Bring a Grandparent / Bring a Friend to Lunch Day. Moreover, the middle school library participated in Read Across America, where students and staff were invited to read in the library for 20 minutes at a time, resulting in avid readers throughout the entire school day. Within the high school, students from Viterbo University performed at the auditorium on Monday night along with members of the high school choir. Additionally, the high school's production of Legally Blonde will premiere Friday, March 27th at 7 p.m. And there will also be performances on Saturday the 28th and Sunday the 29th. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kaden. Mr. Igo.
Good evening, members of the board. Just a couple of things tonight from the administrative team. Ms. Dusick wanted to point out that they had over 200 grandparents and special guests that attended their event. And so she was extremely happy with the turnout of that. The 6th grade Math Masters team competed against other Western Wisconsin schools in the annual Math Masters competition on Friday, March 6th. 10 6th graders from Prescott Middle School competed, which consisted of a fact drill, 3 individual rounds, and 3 team rounds. We had 3 students finish in the top 10 of the 93 participants, and one of the Prescott teams finished first out of the 20 teams. And so congratulations to Miss Wall and the 6th grade Math Masters students. They were really excited when they came back in the building, and they're pretty proud of their accomplishments this year. From the activities and Mr. Smith, boys basketball earned Middle Border Conference champions. They shared it with St. Croix Central and Osceola. As Ms. Hillebrand said, we had some really great middle school and high school band and choir concerts in the past 2 weeks, so hopefully you got to check those out. The band trip to Disney, if you have not heard, was a huge success. They said they have lots of great memories. And then congratulations to Bryce Farron and Addie Alsop for qualifying for the WIAA Individual Wrestling Tournament, which they participated in at the end of February.
Thanks, Matt.
I was able to also stop by both the intermediate school and the elementary school for the Grandparents' Day, and a huge shout out to Nicole Lensner and our entire food staff and the staffs of those buildings. I gotta say that was the most well-run session of little kids eating with grandma and grandpa and hundreds of cars in the parking lot, and it was perfectly organized. Yesterday I was able to speak at the gathering space. They have a potluck once a month. and they fed me great food that everybody brings in. But then we talked a lot about the intermediate school, the sale of the intermediate school, future locations of the gathering space. We got a little bit into school funding, and a little bit into cell phone policy. Somebody even asked me about. So a very engaged and supportive group of seniors, and there's probably about 25 people there. And for me, one of the biggest honors every month is the Cardinal Champion. This year, if we'll get them to come up in a minute, or this month, we were honoring the Patak family. Prescott School District is thrilled to honor the Patak family as Cardinal Champions. Mike and his family have always gone above and beyond with everything they do that involves our school, community, and the people of Prescott. Whether it is their time, overall commitment, or financial support, they are always stepping up for the Cardinals in every fashion possible. The list is endless in terms of generosity that the Patak family has offered and done for the youth of the Prescott schools. They are incredible people with huge hearts and make our community a better place as they genuinely care about the people and show that in their actions. Do you want to come up and speak?
Oh,
a picture.
maybe a picture.
You just want to do the handshake in the picture. That's good too. You want to come for a picture?
I can come, sure.
Yeah.
Not what my computer's doing here.
Yeah.
Just updating right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
We should probably get like a nice flag. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Guys, thanks for
Thanks,
coming
guys.
out. Yep, thank you.
Mike, you planned the black?
Yes, exactly.
I don't know what.
Thank you, guys.
Big.
All right, Jim, is that it?
Yep.
All right. We are going to move to the school business, starting with consent. In the consent, we have the February 18th, 2026 board minutes, finance reports, athletic overnight trips in April and May of 2026, and CC11 services contract for 26-27, and finally the considering the early college credit. Sorry, something just popped up. Early college credit and start college now applications for the summer and fall of 2026. That's everything. Is there anything in consent that someone would like to pull out and discuss?
I don't know if we can pull it out, but just point of reference, the boys golf, we kind of just discussed this, but the boys golf trip is, has a date conflict, so we just want to make people aware that that's prom. So I don't know if we need to put that in there, so we need to, is that something we want to pull out or just?
Well, it's probably up to them. I mean, it's up to them with their team, I
We
suppose.
can approve it and
Yeah.
then the date
Sure.
can be
Yeah.
flexible.
Because also
Okay.
April 16th and 17th, it's possible we get snowed out still, you know, so, or weather of some kind.
Okay.
We have to move.
Well, I don't think the date is not flexible because it's the boys golf thing is not flexible because it's at this course. Am I
It's
saying
just
that right?
whether or not the kids can
It's
do
just,
it.
just so we know.
Yeah.
So that's all we'll
Okay.
just approve the location and
Okay.
then the date is
Awesome.
the date. Okay, so we're gonna leave that in. Anything else?
I want to abstain just because I have a child on the early childhood entrance piece, so I'll abstain
All
from
right.
voting.
Thank you for the point. So we can entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the consent.
I move to adopt the agenda and approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
That's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
That carries. Tanya abstains. Moving on. Thank you. Next item is consider personnel reports for certified staff.
Mike Tomley submitted his letter of resignation that the board should have a copy of. And he spent 9 years here in the Prescott School District and almost 3 decades, in education in various roles. I know he plans to continue to teach driver's ed in the Prescott area through Northwest Technical College and continue to serve our students.
All right, anybody have any comments or questions on this one?
No comments.
I'll just echo our comment that, Mike, I've gotten to know him. He had a son the same age as my oldest son. So we got to know each other. I appreciate his dedication to not just teaching, but coaching and sports in general, and just what he did for the community, driver's ed, all that stuff. Congratulations, Mike, on making it to retirement. We all hope to get there someday. So we can take a motion.
I move to approve the personnel report for the certified staff as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item C, grant for asthma.
Our fabulous nurse, Amy Krause, is here to talk to you for a little bit about that.
Hello. Tonight, I am requesting approval to accept a $5,994 asthma education grant. This funding will allow me to provide one-on-one and small group asthma education for our students beginning in fall of 2026 and run through August 2027. The grant will support nursing coverage while I work with students. It will provide education materials for our students and implement an air quality index flag program to display air quality and expand respiratory health education for our students and the community. So I am here to ask the board for approval to move forward with accepting this grant.
All right, any comments or questions on this one?
I just want to comment, this is great. This is, obviously you put a lot of work into this. This is exciting for our kids and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited.
Ditto. Thank you for the efforts. Yes, exciting.
Dylan? Yeah, thanks for putting in the extra work to get the grant going, and congratulations on getting it. So
Thank you so
excellent.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we can take a motion.
I move to approve accepting the $5,994 grant donation for Asthma in Action.
A second.
Is that number right? 5,994?
I don't know.
It's like six.
That's on the
says
letter.
Six, but
I just don't want to prove it if it's something different.
Are you 100%?
Yeah, it's fine.
994. Yes.
That's the, okay, I'm just reading from the letter that was a part of our board packet. Yeah. Are we good with it?
Yeah.
If it's
Approximately
$5,000,
The $6 will come out of Pat's pocket if we're off.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you.
the balance.
You would have paid the difference. All right. Item D, consider first reading of the Neola Act 57 Special Update
Just signed in it
Policies.
now.
So this is a set of policies based on a law that was passed this winter and signed by the governor. We are, our administration team, since the act's been signed, has been enforcing it. This revolves around the mandatory reporting of student, any type of abuse or grooming or any type of crime on a student. We've been doing this for decades in this district, but the law passes a little bit more constraints. There's also a law that's probably going to be signed in the next 2 weeks, Act 88, specifically on grooming, and they all kind of go together. It's really 3 versions of the same policy. One for support staff, one for certified staff, one for the district administration. And then the child abuse and neglect. Again, we've always been covered by law that we have to report that as mandatory reporters. Excuse me. It just changes the definition a little bit, and then the policy puts in a lot of guidelines. appropriate conversations, appropriate communications, not having anyone over to your house or in your car, etc. There are exceptions for close family friends. We're a small knit community. A lot of our teachers, it's wonderful that they live in the community, so it's not going to prevent them from having their neighbor, giving their neighbor child a ride home, or, if their child plays on a sports team, giving somebody else's, a ride home. There is definitely language in there that clarifies that that is still allowed. It's just somebody you really don't have a relationship, and in an emergency situation, they need to reach out to their administrator or to me, because sometimes things happen, parents get in a car. I had one in my personal life where when I was a coach, parents got in a car accident and their kid needed a ride home. So I called my principal and gave the kid a ride home. So it happens, but there are ways to work around that. It's a pretty good set of regulations and guidelines like everything we have in Neola. And the one last aspect, and I think we'll get more language from Act 88 as well, and the DPI is starting in August, we need to train all of our staff on these acts, and that'll be part of our every August in-service.
All right, Helen, did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward. You're ready to do it, so.
Vicky?
I did notice something in the policy, though, that there's a duplicate. When you go down to the list of things that are, whatever, not allowed.
There's a couple that are listed twice, yeah.
13, 14.
Yeah, we
Okay.
reached out to Todd on that, and yeah,
Okay.
that'll get fixed for the second. Courtney's making a note again to remind him one more time, but we'll get that fixed for the second reading.
Okay. And then to be clear on this, when you're talking about the specifically hugging, this is when it's for the adults, I hate to say it, but pleasure versus comforting a student who needs comforting.
That is the great way to say it. Yeah, and age level matters a lot too.
Yeah, that's
a kindergarten child running up to their kindergarten teacher and hugging them is not what this is talking about. This is, I think you nailed it. I've been looking for a way to say that for the last week. Is it for the kid or is it for if we have a death, something like that? There's definitely different appropriate times. So.
Because that's, I guess for me, that's one thing I don't want teachers to feel like, oh my gosh, we can't do this because a child is in need of comfort. And especially little ones, my gosh, I see the littles run up to their teachers all the time and give them a hug and are so happy to see them. So I just wanted to make that kind of clarification in public so that
I really appreciate it. Yeah, that is how the administration team looks at that one as well.
Thank you. Tanya?
No questions. I feel like this is kind of standard practice already in districts for the most part. And if ever there's any kind of question or anything falls within this policy, staff members are supposed to report it. They're mandated reporters. And it's many times nothing comes from it because they do a quick interview and they're like, figure it out or something like that. So I don't think there's anything surprising in here for me.
No questions.
All right, we can entertain a motion here if you want to.
I move to accept the first reading of the noted policies within the Neola Act 57 special update. These policies will receive a second reading at the next regularly scheduled board meeting.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries, and that is it for business at 6:18. Well done. Information discussion. First presentation is academic and career planning report, and he's already at the podium, Mr. Michael Kozmowski.
Good evening, board. So just to update this month from teaching and learning is all around ACP, or academic and career planning. This is something that the state put out as a mandate back in 2016 and for districts to implement starting in 2017. I'm going to go to the next slide. We spent a lot of time over those 2 years getting ready for this. It is on our district website as required to be there. What is academic planning? It really is about getting our kids to be college and career ready by the time that they leave our schools. And how do we do that? We do that by a variety of activities with our students to get them, again, career exploration, self-exploration, planning skills that they're going to need no matter what they choose to do after high school. And again, the last time the board officially approved ours was July of 2017. DPI is reminding districts of our requirement to do this, and it a lot of districts after COVID kind of fell away. Now they're reminding us, hey, you guys probably need to dust that off and make sure that you're still in compliance or of the essence of the statute. So Jim, if you go to the next one. Again, the mission for our academic and career planning, and a lot of this planning happened when Steve Peterson was still here. Kirsten Langer had a lot to do with it. We want every student that graduates that they're prepared for that post-secondary success, and that every student to have that post-secondary plan for success. And what does that look like? And we have stages and things that we do with our kids throughout. This was when the state also started to require some of that career exploration at the middle school level. That's when 7th and 8th grade now has a dedicated careers class to cover some of the components that are within here. Some highlights, if you go to the next slide, Jim, of what we've been doing in Prescott at the elementary level. It really wasn't an elementary statute, but we know all things start at the elementary level. So talking about social emotional development with our lessons and the way that we do restorative circles and things like that. We have goal setting activities, learning styles, some career cluster work. Ms. Sizemore in STEM talks about different careers that are related to what the kids are learning about. At the middle school, we do have specific classes. In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we wouldn't necessarily need to have specific classes. We just need to cover how are we covering these things. So in 6th grade, our social studies teacher, Mr. Tolkheim, has a skills class, and the kids each get a quarter of skills, where they're looking at their character traits, their talents, some of their interests at that level. 7th and 8th grade, we have those standalone career classes where they're exploring universities in 7th grade and looking at different career aspirations. And then in 8th grade, really talking about financial literacy and the markets and some of that stuff. And then it all pretty much comes back around at the high school. So academic and career planning is really about these 4 different areas of knowing yourself, exploring things, planning, and then go. And go is really that delivery of that plan. So freshman year, we have that 4-year plan meeting of what are your courses going to look like, what interests do you have. Again, they come back to that over and over again throughout as they do their course planning. We have senior transition activities such as Mad City Money that we do on the same day as the ACT. Our SOO officer and our nurse meet with the seniors about some new legal responsibilities that they're going to have as they leave our district. We have some required curriculum. Personal finance is a required course up at the high school. And then some optional things that we have that are really teaching kids these skills: entrepreneurship, R5 manufacturing now, and then career exploration, and that's pretty much embedded in all of our curriculums. So those are kind of our highlights. So our next steps, before we come back to the board next month for approval of our updated plan, is right now we're working with our PLC leaders and our PLCs to look at what is our current practice. What are those things that we said years ago that we were going to put in place? Did we put them in place? Are we still in the learning work phase, or are we in implementation, or this is now standard work? Continue to look at ways that we can expand and outreach, not just to our local community, but also to regionally. Looking at other partnerships such as CVTC academies. We have a welding academy. We have some other academies that we send kids to. Are there any opportunities for expansion there? Transcripted credit classes. Again, those are a little bit more difficult. Now, the requirement is that you have either a master's degree in that particular field of study or 18 credits. So we do have one teacher right now who is getting accredited so they can teach transcripted. So working with CVTC on that, and then some grants that they have to help teachers pay for that along the way. Our work-based learning, things like that, again, looking to expand. And then really looking at what's our current labor market information. So we have our information is based on, pre-COVID. Let's get some current market information, and then what what is the market showing us to prepare kids for success? We already know out of every 10 jobs, 7 of them require, if you're looking at post-secondary, is a 2-year degree. 2 of them is a undergraduate and 1 is a master's, right? So we know that, but whereas the market shifted, what are technologies and things that didn't exist pre-COVID that now exist in different areas to go in? I know the state is actually looking at a multi-year sort of expansion of this themselves to assist districts also in having some of these things. So how do we get more regionally? And regionally, we're talking like even Chicago, Milwaukee, Twin Cities area, and how our kids connected there. Some programs they're looking at is having, they would vet people in different industries, and we'd be able to set up meetings with our students, and they could talk to an executive in Milwaukee or in Chicago, or someone who is a chemical engineer at Dow Chemical, and I just say that because my brother-in-law is down in Chicago, and we've talked about this and having a connection there and whatnot. And so when kids hear about engineering, what are they talking about? It's not the toot on the train, right? What sort of engineering is there available? And we have a lot of people that have graduated from Prescott that have gone in engineering are in the Twin Cities that we could tap to. So those are kind of our next steps. So next board meeting, I plan this being a business item where you would approve it, and then annually thereafter, and maybe it might shift to that annual approval that we do over the summer months of all those other things. But it's just time for us to dust it off and make sure we're hitting our target, and if not, what are our gaps and how do we address them?
Tanya, do you have any questions about this from Michael?
Well, I looked back at our website and the 2017 plan is on there, which is great. And I saw some really old data and all that stuff. So is the plan to kind of update that data and kind of see where we're at? Okay.
Yep.
And one of the things that was noted on there is that our kids do exit surveys, and that's how we were going to check our goals and stuff. And you're right, we haven't really followed up and seen that. So I'm excited to see some of that data. And I remember when, I think it was somebody from the labor market people out there that came into our board meeting and talked to us about 2-year degrees and all that kind of stuff too. So definitely, it's almost a decade later, time to turn it around, and thanks for doing that. I like the idea of over the summers just kind of looking at it again and realigning our thinking with that. So the other thing that was in there was talking about kids doing our early college programs and stuff like that, and that's a program that I've seen just grow immensely over the past handful of years. So I'm curious to see how that. So
Yep, so Mr. Figge's getting that data pulling of when it started and how many kids do we have participate to how many are we having apply and participate now.
And I know you also are talking about like course of study and stuff like that, and it's been interesting to see some of that reflection into some of the courses that we're offering versus the ones that are commonly taken outside of the school and stuff. So great, I look forward to it. I don't really have any questions.
Pat?
No questions. Tanya stole them all. Thank you. You annually, so you've talked about that. Great idea. Maybe just a process thing. So if this is a business item next month, but it's going to be the first time we're seeing a plan. Like, what if Mike is just, Michael, we need to have more AI, whatever, in in your plan. What is either proving it or denying it going to negatively or positively impact you?
Really, the approving is that you're proving that we have a plan. That plan can always changing, and that's why the annual of what are we going to say, and like you guys might see it and say we want more of this. Really, the plan that's on there right now, it was a slide deck. A lot of districts, what they did because of this statute, they hired a person then this was their sole position because they did not have a lot of good connections to their local business, and we have those connections already, so we never hired that position. So some of them have really fancy websites that you can go on, but it's really the same information we have, it just looks different. So if that's a direction we want to go in, that's something we can do. But if there's something also, that's the other thing that we're doing is the DPI has given us some good sample sites or sample districts to look at what they have, and that's one of the things we're looking at is where are our gaps. So that will be part of my presentation is also here are some things that we want to look at over the next year. We might have a list of 20 things, but maybe these are the 3 for next year that we really believe are low-hanging fruit things that we can attack, where some of these might be more of a 3 to 5 year plan before we can actually get there. So that's part of it too, is comparing ourselves and benchmarking against other districts.
Awesome. So for next month, we're not gonna, so I remember when we passed the required curriculum of the personal finance, we're not expecting to do that that next month.
You would just, that this is our current plan. That's really what you would be approving of, that here's our current plan, we understand the current plan, and sort of here are our next goals for the next year.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if there's a lot of questions, we can always table it till May. There's no statute, DPI is not knocking down our door saying you have to have this done by April or anything.
Sure. Oh, that's great. Okay, thanks. Vicki?
No, I mean, I don't think I have any questions on this type of stuff. I just was kind of curious if we know if there's a connection between what our kids are taking at the college level courses and that are earning their degrees. Is that working for them in their college experience? So, I mean, personally, I do know there have been some kids that, because of what they took at Prescott, are graduating early. Are they taking the classes that are getting them to graduate college early? Is it helping them focus and, define their career path by what we're giving, the options that we're giving them to take these classes? So I think that's more what I'm curious about, especially with CBTC, because those are the types of careers, the medical field, the, medical assistant, transcriptionist, lab tech, all of that sort of stuff. Those are those 2-year degrees. And so are they taking those courses, EMT stuff, and are they becoming EMTs? Like, is that really, I guess I kind of want to know that this is actually helping guide them to their careers.
Yeah, I know there were counselors connect with recent grads, and then are you still in that same major that you went to college for? Did you end up graduating college? Did you transfer to a 2-year? Did you end up completing that or not? So I know there are those surveys, and those go out. But I think a lot of them are voluntary, and you don't get a lot of voluntary. So
I'm sure maybe you need to send them to the parents of the kids and say,
Sure.
hey, could you get your kids to complete this? But I think I think for me that would be nice to know that we're allowing and
Right.
putting all of this out there.
And I think for us, we can connect with all those kids that took the welding academy and got that certification through CBTC. How many of them are in a career that involves welding now versus did that lead them somewhere else, and it was because of this that they led somewhere else, or did they just drop it completely?
Right.
And I think if that's what you're asking for,
Yeah,
I think
that's
we
really
can,
what
we
I'm
can get
asking.
that.
Is because you can ask businesses what they need. We can assume that we've got the right, headed in the right direction, but are we? I guess is
Got it.
what I'm looking for.
Helen?
It's a lot. I was just gonna say that. I think
Tanya didn't say it all.
I think we are on the right path because I like the current with the highlight that you did. The fact that it's linear. We start at a young age and we build on that. I have kids in the district that have followed this plan, and now they're not so stressed out as seniors, except for their mother. But they're not so stressed out because they know what they've had the careers have that kind of exploration during a time that it wasn't such a high high stress time, and they are ready to leave. And so I think the survey at the end would be nice to know, hey, 4 years from now, what are you still doing the thing that you thought you were going to do, and kind of just lean back. There's better words, but I can't say it. But I'm not good at that. But I think the plan we have, the plan that is highlighted here, the highlights, it's good that we build on it as they get older, because then it's not so overwhelming at the end when it is a senior and you're like, wow, what am I going to do when I grow up? I'm grown up. I graduated now,
And interestingly enough, as I kicked this off with the PLC leaders the very next day, me and the counselor early at the elementary school we're talking about, we had recently been sent a sample by a company. We samples all the time, but there was one specific about career exploration in upper elementary grades, and they had a On top of that, they had other things for like parents and things like that. But we were looking at the career exploration, almost like a workbook that they could potentially use over 2 or 3 years of looking at different, knowing yourself. Then you ask every kindergartner, what do you want to be? It's going to be either Batman, Superman, or a firefighter. At that age,
Or a teacher.
it changes a little bit over time, right? So that was definitely something we were looking at, especially expanding down at the elementary level, and then just where are those gaps that we have at the middle school and high school. So, yeah.
Michael, you brought up school counselors, and I think it's a good time to just acknowledge that this is really the role of school counselors and some of the value of huge value what they bring to our buildings. And I think a lot of community members don't realize all the different hats they wear, but a big part of their hat, especially at the high school level, is helping our kids get ready for life after high school. And so they do an amazing job with that. Our counselors have always been some of the best around, and so this is something that I'm sure they live by this plan when they come to the work that they do here with kids. So it's great.
All right, thanks, Michael. So next month, we'll have an agenda item. We'll probably get a copy of the plan ahead of time so we can review and then just come with questions. If we have them, or get the questions ahead. All right, item B is report on schools consolidation progress.
So this really kind of has 3 different parts to it. I'll try to be brief as possible, but first, the building itself, the physical building. When we met in February, we were waiting on RE/MAX to come back with an evaluation. So in December, TELUS Realty gave us a $3 million evaluation of the intermediate school. RE/MAX gave us a $2.5 million plus or minus $250,000 as evaluation. Ashley and I also reached out to Quarles, which is basically the only law firm in the state of Wisconsin that deals with bonds, and they handle our bonds for all of our not our operational referendums, for all of our physical referendums to add to whether it was to build a middle school or do all the remodeling, because we just want to make 100% sure we're legally allowed to sell it. As the board voted in December, it's not needed for an academic purpose. That is what they were looking for, so we covered that. If we decide to sell it and try to keep the gym unique, we probably will have to reach back out to Quarles or Lori Lubinsky, who works with Axley, who is our law firm of record, would hook us up with one of their real estate lawyers and make sure the listing is appropriate. And we have several options, and I'm looking for guidance from the board. We can either select one of the 2 realtors. I have to tell you, since December, I have been reaching out to every construction firm, every person I can find involved in building schools, selling schools, developing schools, and I've not coming up with a whole lot of names. It's just not something that comes up. Both Jared from RE/MAX and TELUS are the 2 that have been referred to the most, so it's good to know that we at least have the right ones. There's some options. We can list the intermediate school for $2.5 to $3 million as a whole building. We could list it for less with a required lease on the gym. We also do have a name of a real estate lawyer that helped a couple school districts sell things. If we get into the details there, the board would have to consider, are we going with a realtor that's going to be a commission, or are we going to go with a real estate lawyer that's per hour? The other option is to kind of hold back on this and gather more feedback, list it in the early summer, list it in late summer, the fall. We're going to be using it through July of 2027, so there is no rush in April necessarily to sell it. Obviously, the longer it's on the board, the better. And again, the board could decide to list it one way, see what they get, wait for a couple months, and then list it another way. We could decide to keep it. One thing that came up at the gathering space, we had about 25 people there. 7 or 8 people raised their hands and specifically said, we're ready to get rid of it. It's time to move on, get what you can for it and go. That's by no means a scientific sample, but 25 people in a room is the most I've had so far to talk to me about the intermediate school. So I wanted to make sure I pass that on. One question that came up a lot in the gathering space is, well, after you sell it to them, can you tell them to do this with it? And I want to put that out there, know that once we sell it, our hands are washed and we're done with it, unless of course we say we're keeping the gym and you have to lease the gym back to 100 years, then we get control of the gym. But yeah, both realtors talked a lot about either turning it into senior housing or turning it into luxury condos. So as the most likely uses of that building.
Pat, you want to start on this one? You got any questions or?
I think questions, I don't know, opinion with where I think I'm at is not ready to suggest that we list it yet. I think that a couple pros and cons to that. The pro, which I think is potentially valid, is if somebody were interested, it takes a long time to go through your entitlement process, zoning permits, to even understand if a developer thinks it's feasible, right? And that just takes time. So it allows someone to take time, which would be cash sooner, right, for the district. That's important. But I do think we're missing the, this formal public listening event that we've said that we were going to do. So until we do that, I would hesitate putting it up for sale. Even though putting it up and listing it doesn't require us to do anything. That's kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah, Tanya?
Yeah, Pat, I'm glad that you brought up the public listening session. I think that's important too. I'm not in, we have had one other kind of, TELUS had kind of shared some information before, but this is really only our second kind of market analysis, if you will. And so I think we're still at the place of just having some conversations about it, knowing what we need more information on. I personally want to hear the public's opinion more. I know we don't get to choose once we sell it what it's used for. That's kind of up to the city, if you will, with zoning and who purchased it and stuff like that. But I think that we said we were going to do that, and so that's important for us to do. The other thing is I want to learn a little bit more about language that could be used with the sale regarding the gym, and I'm not sure if that's where we work as a closed session with the realtor to come up to what that actually looks like or not, but I definitely know that we need some more information in different options of how we actually list that out, the different costs with how we list that out and stuff like that. And I'm not sure we've decided yet or not, like, do we sell the gym, do we not sell the gym? I know that we did that analysis last month, and it's pretty important, but I also know that there's possibilities of adding things onto a building. We have a couple of buildings that have some options with that. The other piece is we have to do some budget cuts if we don't sell the building, and so we have to consider kind of where we're placing our value as well and what we need for the district. So I think we need to do those things. I also was wondering, RE/MAX sent some market analysis comparables. They were all, I think, still listed. I didn't see any that were actually sold, and I'd be curious, are things like this selling in the area, and what are they being used for? How long are they on the market? All that kind of stuff. I think we need more than, I think it was like 4 listings, but not really anything that's sold.
So we could definitely invite the RE/MAX in to come talk specifically about those. A lot of them are selling depending upon where they're at. What both realtors told us is the proximity to the Mississippi River is really, and the proximity to the Twin Cities is really our selling point. The one I know last summer, Wausau sold one of their elementary schools right away because it bordered the Wisconsin River, and they sold it in a week. But that's just luck of where it is. So, but yeah, we can definitely bring in RE/MAX next month if you want.
Vicki?
The thing Pat was talking about with the time it's gonna take for a developer to even walk through the process with the city and all of that, even just their own, what could they do with it? What could they make on it? What's it gonna cost for them to do it? And then approaching the city and getting all of that. Like, that takes a significant amount of time. And I think we need that time anyway to sit in front of the people who the school belongs to. We need to sit down with the community, thank you, and have that conversation. And really, we just need the input. I'm getting bits and pieces here and there, but I think we all need to sit in a room together and get all the information at the same time, so we're all hearing the same thing, and have some discussions and see what direction we're headed with that building, and then get an input on gym space. I mean, we know that, I think it was pretty clear that we do need the space, because weather is a factor around here for activities, and I want to be able to keep the public, I want them to have access to their buildings that they're putting their tax money into. And the gathering space, the activities that they do, they use it. Community ed uses it. PCR uses it. So that's a lot of people that we could end up alienating or cutting out of our buildings altogether if we lose that gym. So I think it's twofold. We got to figure out gym space, how we handle that, and then I think it is just a matter of maybe trying to keep reaching out to people and see if there are any developers or anybody who might think it's a good idea. So if we have to have, I guess I don't know, in order to do that, do we need to list it to get the realtors to start making those phone calls? Or I would imagine we kind of have to commit to someone in order to get that to happen. So a lot more to discuss, I think.
So much. I think everything's pretty much been said, but what I'm hearing is that, and what I agree with, is that we need a community meeting. We need to sit down with our community and listen to them. It's hard to talk about a building as just a building, because it's not. There's a lot of emotions and a lot of memories and all that sort of stuff tied to that building. Students currently, this is important. The oldest part we have. The budget doesn't go away. And so we have to do something, we have to do things that are responsible long-term, so we can keep what's most important, and that's the teachers, that's the, students, and that's all that, So I think first and foremost, we need to have that community meeting and sit down, because honestly, someone might have a really great idea that we just don't know of. And these meetings aren't highly attended, so and I don't know if they're really watched at home, but I think once we schedule that meeting, I think people do show up when that gets mentioned, selling a building or looking at closing down a building, people show up. So, and I would challenge them to do that with good ideas and communications, and we can open that up. So I think the first thing is we just need to schedule that and make that happen.
So I've heard four of you mention a meeting. Are we thinking a 5 o'clock meeting before a board meeting? Are we thinking a separate meeting at the intermediate school? What's going to draw in the most people, I guess, is my ask.
Good question.
I think it's a separate meeting.
It's a listening.
I don't know if it's I don't know what building it's at, but I think for sure it's a separate meeting. And I think that we also, whether it's at the same meeting or not, I think the city of Prescott should either be somehow engaged with that, right, to understand how a potential sale may or may not fit in with master plans.
And timelines.
Towards city goals.
Timelines from them.
Timelines from their permitting and zoning and just, understanding that time. That's a really good point, because that really does affect us.
Yep.
what I'm hearing, and I agree, this is my take, is that we're not in a hurry. We want to make sure we do the right things and engage community and get input. And I'll say, this has been said a couple times, I'm going to say it a different way. The gym space to me, and I think the board has agreed, we got to have a plan in place and a timeline in place for how we replace that gym if that is part of the sale. And that's like minimizing the window of what we would, what it would look like without a gym. I think it's got to be a shorter window. We can't go without a gym for more than a year, in my opinion. So I think that's got to be part of the plan. So whatever we got to do to get those ducks in a row to have a plan ready, if that's part of the deal, is really important to me. Again, I don't think we're in a hurry. I think the district kind of holds all the cards here. We can take our time. We can entertain offers. We can get community input. We can slow this thing down and just do this as methodical as we want to do it. And I think that's what I'm hearing, and that's kind of how I feel too. So
Yeah, I think with acknowledgement though that we've got a biennium and a half to get through before we're in a position where something drastic has to be done, right? And that building could sit there without a buyer for 5 years and none of it matters, too. I mean, that's a real possible outcome. So.
Yeah, I agree. And we got all next year as well, because we're still using that building through next year. So we can figure this out. Hopefully we can have a plan together, over the next I was going to say through the summer, like if we have something in place by the fall where we feel like, we got a plan, like, yes, we want to sell it, here's what we're going to do. I think that's probably be a good goal to have maybe by the fall.
Seems reasonable.
It's just my 2 cents. Jim, is that enough? Do you have any questions?
Yep, no, I think that's it. I think what I'm hearing, just to summarize, I got notes to reach out to Braid to figure out exactly how much. They did us a quick favor and spent a half hour figuring out just a very rough estimate on adding a gym to the high school. We can definitely dig down a little bit deeper and see what that is, because a lot of it depends upon what we're going to get for the intermediate school and where we're at. And then some type of listening session. If the board's okay with it too, I'm going to maybe try the Facebook method and see how much can we get any feedback that way. Not necessarily a poll, but just reaching out to people to tell us what they're thinking, what they're hearing, and go that way as well. Maybe do that after our listening session and see how many people show up. Yeah. So no further questions on to school consolidation, which is more of what we're actually doing in 27, 28. I just want to give you a quick summary. The high school and middle school team, admin team has come down a couple times to meet with the 8th grade team, Mr. Igo and Michael Kozmowski from Teaching and Learning. They're looking at schedules, they're looking at electives. It's pretty easy because the 8th grade team has a common prep time to make that one happen. 4th and 5th grade doesn't have a common prep time, so the meetings have been a little less formal, but Mr. Igo and Mr. Kozmowski have been doing a great job working with them. Good communication back and forth. Licensing, our current study, we're finding no issues so far. There's actually quite a bit of flexibility in our licensing. A lot of teachers are licensed either K-6 or 612, and that really kind of gives us some overlap. Some of our teachers are licensed K-8, and so if we have a K-8 and a 612, we got a lot of overlap there. I'm saying this as of today. This may change. I was going to put the word will change, but it likely will change. But as of today, this is where we're at. 4th and 5th grade is going to stay at the elementary model. They're going to move to the lower level of the current middle school. And again, this is not this summer. This is the summer of 2027. 6th and 7th grade will likely continue in their same spaces with the current curriculum and current structure. We do have a plan. We just approved the retirement of our middle school STEM teacher. Due to financial constraints, we're recommending that we don't replace that. There's the possibility of using K-5 STEM to possibly teach 6th and 7th grade. It's possible to use 6th and 7th grade science teachers to teach some of that roles. That is in the infantile stage. I know that Michael and Kyle really haven't met with that team yet, but there are options out there that we're going to look at. And we're going to look at, should we move the middle school is the only school in the district that's not on trimesters. And that's something we're looking at. And basically, we looked at enough to figure out that we need to push that off to the summer. We just got too much going on right now, trying to get through the year and going that way. But Michael and Kyle will sit down with the 6th, 7th science teachers. We'll also sit down with Mrs. Sizemore and kind of have a conversation about what that looks like. Again, I want to thank the board for their gift of time. We're not trying to get this done for August of 26. We're trying to get this done for August of 27. So you've given us 6 months to really figure this out. But that's where we're at recently.
Vicki, do you have any questions on this?
No questions. I think we're seeing the progress. Like this is, first listening sessions with all the schools were just kind of, yep, we're going to do this, and where are we headed? Everyone wanted to know, and so I think now we're starting to see at least a few more meetings taking place and a few more plans happening. So I looks like good progress.
Ellen?
Yeah, the same. I like seeing not slashing of programs, but just they're done in a different way and shifting, because a lot of districts have to look at cutting specific programs, and we don't want to do that because that's why we're great. We want those things. So, yeah.
Tanya?
No questions. Looks good. I know there's a lot of planning that goes into this, so I appreciate the updates.
Agreed. Good update. No questions.
Yep. Same here. No questions. Good job. Move on.
Last but not least for me is the handbook update. We've been looking at the handbook, and we talked about the handbook timeline. We had a district-wide listening session on February 19th. Superintendent's Advisory Committee met on the 26th. We used all that information to create a survey that's sent to the staff. We are still gathering results. As of this morning, we had 28. We had a teacher who reached out to me and said, Jim, it's the week before spring break. I don't know if I ever would have written this one before, but we should probably get it again after spring break. So we'll do that as well. Ashley and I are also looking at several local handbooks to see what other people are doing. Topics that have been raised currently are, yeah.
I gotta stop. Hold on a second here, because I'm looking at the agenda, and we're talking about staff handbook revision. Mm-hmm. We got the staff compensation in front of that.
Oh, am I in the wrong order?
Yeah,
My
I think
apologies,
so.
Mike.
I was just kind of.
Nope, my apologies.
Good catch, Mike.
Thought you were.
Good catch. Nope.
Okay. So we'll back up, and we're gonna go to item C, staff comp for 26, 27. Sorry about that.
Nope, my apologies. I just didn't change PowerPoints.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Hello. I am here to talk about some plans for district compensation and just some different ideas that we can do with some numbers connected to them. So I'm talking tonight with just kind of some initial information. Took the notes from before and kind of condensed some things. April, hopefully we will take the concepts from tonight and we will have plans connected with numbers, and you'll be able to vote on that in April, and then distribute contracts in May is kind of the timeline that I'm hoping to be able to go through. So the combination of the study that was completed last year, I've been looking at that material as well as figuring out where we should be connecting to, right? So this is the Big Rivers Conference, or no, I'm sorry, Middle Border Conference with River Falls added. So you can see here I have our bachelor's low, our bachelor's high, our master's low, and our master's high. you can see we fall into different places throughout here. You will note that that arrow is the addition of the $2,000, which is our 403B match. So that is not in the initial salary listed there, but you could see based off of that where we would fall if you would consider that part of it. Yep.
Does the other salaries include the 403B match in it? Or whatever their individual districts do?
Not everybody does one, so
Right.
no.
Okay, so
But
so
I
for
will-
some other districts, it might be $2,000 additional too, or less, or more even, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
so a little bit further down, I met with our rep and got a little bit better understanding
Yeah.
of what we offer, what other people offer, just different options. So we will talk about that too,
Okay.
because that is a big component of our package, right? And something to consider. So no is the answer, but hopefully I would be able to get more of that if they do have that. So.
Thank you.
The other interesting piece on here is you can see the size of enrollment. The high school is listed and just kind of the ranking there. So we are the smallest across all, obviously, and but we do hold our own throughout. So the other piece is you can see down at the bottom, which I know you guys all have this in your packet, but is the average and then how far off we are from that. So any questions on that information? It's more of just kind of an overview look through.
Yeah, I think I
For
get it
those.
now, because you're just factoring in the $2,000 that we get for the 403B kind of to see what it would
Correct.
look like.
Where-
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And these were the numbers for this current school year
All right.
for all of those districts. So, we have talked about the Alera study and things along those lines that were incorporated. One of the documents that I have been referencing is all of the staff were asked to fill out their years of experience and their licensing and just different degrees and things that they have with that. So that is information that connects to this in the sense of, making sure the alignment of experience and salary scales and things like that. I did not show you that information because it's individual people, but that is one of the other components that I'm digging into as well.
Next slide.
Sure. Okay, so the next kind of concept is going over a possible percentage increase that we will do for the next school year. There's a wide variety of ways that you can do this, but just taking these two concepts. Concept one is taking the percentage increase that we are going to do and apply it to our base salary. So if you did that, essentially, it could be around $1,640. That will be one of the percentages we'll talk about. So then you would take that and apply it to every single step of our steps and lanes, and everybody would advance that way. That budget model is a lower expense, but still a percentage that we can pick to apply to everybody, right?
Can you just jump in with questions? Cause
Yeah, please do.
So you're saying the percentage applied to base salary, what's like, is that the
So-
lowest base salary?
Yes. So for this example, I use 3.63. 2.63 is what CPI is. So 3.63, if you apply that to 45,173,
Yeah.
that is 1640.
So like the top left cell, you take 3.63% of that, and that's what
Yes.
you come up with?
So then you could take 1640 and apply it to every
To each
cell.
And that is what a lot of districts do post Act
Yep.
10.
Yes.
That is very, very common.
So that is
For
one way
post-Act
to apply that.
Okay.
The other way is you take that 3.63 or whatever our number is going to be, and you apply that to every step. And then people align on the steps based off of where they were at. I will tell you that, Jim, just one other piece here. I did research from the Wisconsin Data Hub, which is collecting a lot of surveys and reports from multiple districts around the state. There were 48 surveys in there, and for the 26-27, the average increase that people had said is the 2.63. The maximum was 4, and the minimum was 2. I will say there was a few exceptions in there where it was between 4 and 22%. That was just a particular school that we're making adjustments. So they are not in this because it was such a wide range. But next slide, please. Okay, so this model right here is our Baird model that we have been using for forecasting our financials. I have a 2.63 model, a 3.63, and a 3. Now, this would apply to concept 2 of every single person would get the 3.63 on their current salary. Okay. I can go back and look at what the numbers would be for the other way, but they are very different, right? Yeah. And so I wanted you to see this scenario because this is the higher expense.
This is the highest.
And that, to me, that information is more valuable at this time.
Right.
Now, there's a couple different ways as well to think about this, right? These are our numbers as the color coding here. As a board, we have a policy that we need to stay above 20%. So the yellow means we're close. I think we can get to 20 because this is not including any additional cuts. This is not any staff retirements. This is like we haven't changed anything here, right? And I want to be able to do some changes. So those are yellow for that year. But those are just the percentages that are projected. Another factor is our health insurance. We do not have those numbers. We will have them at the end of the month, but that is a variable as well that will impact. So, Pat, did you have a question?
Yeah, so is potentially the 3.63 and the 3, are those flipped? Just because I'm looking at our balance, our fund balance, and I would think that our fund balance would be healthier
with 3%.
Yeah, probably.
It is
never mind.
healthier.
No, it's right. It works. Sorry, I was mixing up the numbers. It's good.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I've been looking at a lot of numbers
we need to
lately,
know,
so
we
there's
want to be at
a chance that I'm
20%.
wrong, but-
Yes. Yeah.
We want to be at
Those make
20%,
sense.
so it's
Yeah.
farther away from
Yep.
20%.
Okay.
Okay.
So with these numbers, right, we can go a couple years and still be above that, and depending on where we feel comfortable. But some of the other components that I want to look into, Jim, if you can go to the next slide, are just other adjustments or benefits that I think are great for our staff, right? So there's a couple. If we went with a 363, we would have to be very, very small on some of our other changes, if maybe not at all. Not saying that we still couldn't do things, but some of the options to explore would be longevity or, recruitment or retention. I've gotten the opportunity to meet with quite a few staff, and a lot of it has been talking about the people who have been here for a while. And they want to stay here, but let's make sure that we take care of them too. And so just thinking of different concepts that way. increase, for benefits enhancement concept, increase the HSA contribution that is, tied more towards people who take our insurance. So there's that, but we could make some changes to our 403B. We are looking at some, just like the way we do our leave times, things like that. Some of that may not cost us anything and something we can do, but we'll have to look into all of those things. And then dependent care is something that's been brought up, and that is a benefit that, would be for staff, but it does cost the district a little bit. And so just, those things are great, but we have to account for them. And then a couple other things, like I mentioned, that job study that was done by the district last year. I'm still trying to catch up on understanding what all of that means, but there are some just different positions and experiences across the board that have different dollar amounts connected, and there are different licenses, and there's a variety of different things, right? But looking at those, and also do we have positions? I know we talked about bus drivers last time, and so just being able to maybe target something there. Mm-hmm. These are just concepts, right? A thought is maybe we go with 3%. We are okay with 3.63% of where we're falling on the numbers, but we go with 3%. That gives us roughly $70,000 that I can play with here and come up with the best scenarios for our staff. Again, we still may be able to do the ones that we want at 3.63, but these are just some options to think about. So, the next piece is, like I said, I dug into the 403B and got some information there. So what I have currently is we have 98 staff who contribute to the 403B. That's not saying that it is 100% matched at that dollar amount, but they contribute. We have 11 who do not, and they are on my radar, and I will be setting up individual appointments with them to make sure they at least have the information and they can choose to do what they want with it. Next slide, please. Okay, so looking at our current plan, we have a $2,000 match, and this is for the certified staff. And we have a 10-year CLIF vesting period. So these vary between a CLIF, which is it's either all or nothing, right? Or a gradual, which we could set up a plan to have a certain percentage point at different years or variables, right? So scenario one is where we currently are at, and that is a 10-year investment that you have to be here for all those. Just different scenarios that if this was a benefit that we wanted to offer our staff or make some changes there, this isn't necessarily something that is connected to their salary, or we don't have to pay the tax, the FICA and all the benefits that way. But this, then we could do a gradual, keep the 10-year plan, make it 20, 40, 60, or whatever increments we decide there. Another option is once you have completed a year, you're invested 100%, or we could change that to 5 years, or things like that. That could still be a CLIF plan at that moment, but it would meet those requirements, right? When I feel like we've had just conversations about this, we talk about that $2,000 match as part of the salary package. And so that is not into their take home, but still part of that. So then maybe we do want to change how they get that money and what that looks like, because we are already saying we're contributing that. We're already planning for that. So that, is a conversation piece. I will say, when I talked to him, he mentioned that 10 years is not common practice. That's one of the highest that he has worked with. 5 or 7 being the max, but is more of the alignment that he has. Mm-hmm. He also said most districts, and the overall better plan for employee benefit wise is the gradual. So that was a component. And the other piece that I thought was really interesting is he said that the $2,000 that we match is one of the highest. There's other schools that are a couple $100 and that's it. So that is really a big benefit, and we need our people to make sure they're taking advantage of that, right? So, yes.
All right, we got questions. Vicki, do you have questions or comments on any of this?
I think looking at the 403 benefit is great. I'm glad you got 11 people. You know exactly who they are that you can have conversations with. I like the 10-year 100%. That is too far out. We're looking at retention. So the way old pension plans used to work in the private sector and non-for-profit that I had done, 5 years. 5 years, your pension, you're vested, you're good to go. And that's kind of what I look at this as, is similar to that, but at least you're hitting that a little bit sooner. It's that little bit more of a bonus, like, okay, I'm gonna made it 2.5, 3 years, let's just do that so I can get that 100%. So I like that you were looking at all of this, the numbers that you've got, the graphs are great. The slide with the concepts is very clear and easy to understand. I like the colors, thank you very much. It's just really easy to look at versus being on like an Excel spreadsheet, that sort of stuff, which is how we usually see the Baird stuff, and that was just like, overload. This is easier.
Do you mind if I just jump in?
No.
'Cause I want to kind of set this up here. So for the board, because I think the expectation is you guys want to have some kind of action. You want to have the action item in April, right, Jim? If possible.
That would be ideal. So if we're looking at doing a late March or early April, or at worst case scenario, 5 o'clock, April 15th board meeting, Ashley, 90% Ashley, 10% me. We need to know what you want us to bring to that meeting.
Yeah.
So whatever you like, whatever you don't like, whatever you're looking for. And I know we kind of put a lot on you now, so we do take emails all the time too. So if, you go home and you look at this and you're like, oh, what about that? Feel free to reach out that way as well.
So the reason I bring that up is because if we want to have a deeper dive discussion, or hammer it all out right now, we can set up a workshop sometime between now and the next board meeting and kind of get into the guts of this a little bit more. It's really up to us if you want to do that. Otherwise, we can try to get, and I still want to allow people, I want you to ask questions here publicly now, but just as we're going around the horn here, let's just keep that in mind if we want to do a workshop or not because the goal should be by April we have as much information as we can to make an informed and intelligent decision and try to get this hammered out. So, did you have anything else you want to?
So the way concept 2 looks.
Can you go to that?
Going with concept 2 and the 3%.
Yep.
Not taking healthcare into account right now, and not taking into account what we got we just got a retirement. We don't know what other things are going to come down the line, say even after next year, as far as the consolidation of schools and that sort of stuff, that there may be more savings, there may be more money in here available that we don't know of. We might be spending more, but at least the 3% for scenario 2, we're good for 26, 27, and without any changes to that, we're also still good for 27, 28 if we do like 3%. That then gives you that little bit of wiggle room to play with the 403B, to possibly look at readjustments, retention, that sort of thing. Okay.
Yep. I mean, these are the numbers that I have put
Right now.
together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys have to be okay with where they're at, and
Yeah.
I can give you options with those numbers, if that makes sense.
I think salary-wise, I like the way it looks. I think I'm okay with that. I think if we want to dive into changing around 403B, doing those sort of benefit adjustments, that maybe that then is later, and do that sort of benefit analysis or readjustments in like a workshop, but to get the contracts out, that's what we really need is salary, correct? That's what we're looking for, percent increase.
Yes, I do think staff will, want to know what changes would be in plan for the next year. However, we're talking about handbook too, and so some of those things kind of go together. But yes, that number or that percentage would be definitely the starting point.
Okay.
Helen, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, 4 through B, we need to discuss it, but the thing I was gonna just point it on is that compensation adjustment option beyond the general package increase. I think a real conversation, the longevity stipend, that's huge. Having that within the pay scale, getting that figured out, then staff can look and say, hey, teachers constantly, I'm one of them, expanding that PTO, like taking sick time away so teachers can have an appointment if they need an appointment, real life. Those are big points for, yes, the raises. Big. I'm not going to say that it's not. It'd be silly not to. But those other things, that's a lot of why people stay at their jobs too, as well, along with culture. So I would want to see more of those like hammered out. What that longevity stipend would do, how that would look if we could handle that kind of thing in this forecast, and then so that it can go in the handbook as well, and it just stays in there. The teachers know what they're. What's going to happen year after year. And then I would say contracts need to be up. They need to be in the teacher's hands. And we've talked about this multiple times.
I agree with you.
This is non-negotiable.
Yes.
Yeah. So but I would like to see focus also on that compensation and see what we can do as a district that because we're paying the PTO or paying the sick days anyways, so if they can be PTO, that's still in our budget, it's still there, we're still getting, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That would be my only thing.
Tanya?
I'm going to try to be concise, but first question, does this have to be done in April? I understand that that's when people are hiring and there's some real advantages there, but also I definitely feel like we should have a workshop before we settle everything, because for the benefits package stuff, salaries, we could probably handle that, right? But all the rest, we need to see the Baird model laid out and how that impacts everything. So to me, that's more of a workshop type session. So, April is really tight to me, and my question was, does this have to be done in April? Teachers are still here in May.
Yeah, it does not. Ideally, it would be done in April. In my ideal world, we'd have, and we're all very busy, but we'd have like an April 8th workshop session. April 15th, we would sit down and have a board meeting, and then we could get them to them in early May. Is it the end of the world? I'll look out to tell the teachers in the audience, is it the end of the world if it gets passed on May 20th and you get your contracts the last week of May? Is that the end of the world or not?
Well, I know it's not ideal. I understand that.
I have a promise that you'll get one.
Right.
I don't know if we have dates.
Yeah, I know last year they did not get their physical contracts until August.
Right. I think April is probably sooner than we normally do, and that's kind of why I was asking. And I guess here's my other point. So we can obviously talk through these things more, but so I definitely think we need to have a workshop. We have to map out and see what this is. We can look at this and say, if we sell that building or if we do that, this will get us through this time period. But there's a lot of ifs there too. So I think we have to be pretty, we're not going to do a longevity pay and take it back when we can't afford it. So we have to be pretty thoughtful about this and think about what we're doing. So to me, that's a workshop. If we're just talking kind of where we're feeling gut wise off the bat, yep, I don't like a percentage applied just to the base. That elevates our lower, does nothing for our top. I prefer the percentage applied everywhere. 3% is where my gut just tells me. The average-ish is 2.63, I think it was, something like that. But we know that we're still catching up a little bit. I was really happy to see where our salaries fall within there. It's we were really towards towards the bottom, and now we're kind of in that mid-range. I think it's deceiving to put the $2,000 additional arrow there without doing that for everybody else. It's not the same. And so I'd be happy to see that where it is with everybody else too, if we were to do that. And then my district did a longevity pay. I don't qualify for it because I have a different, it's only for teachers, but, and school psychs and stuff like that. It is great though, like hearing people talk about it. It is quite a bit of a reason for people to stay, honestly, because you lose that longevity. And the stipend. It has been, it's just been our second year, I think, doing it. And I hear people talking about it, which tells me like this is something people value. So I'd be curious to see what people think, especially knowing that that middle group to our upper group is a group that we're really trying to target. And the paid time off, all that stuff too. So, but I think really, I don't want to talk too much about that. I think that's more of a workshop kind of dialogue.
Great, Pat.
Try to ask different questions. Jim, can you flip to this? Or whoever's running this thing?
Yep.
Ashley, just a couple of questions on this. We talked about health insurance.
Yes.
That is included in your cost models though, right? I mean, we have.
So the max that our health could be is 12%.
Yep.
That is what I have mapped here.
Yep.
We did have a call with them. Our numbers look pretty good, just for like what our monthlies are. And so we're hoping to be closer to 6.
Sure.
But I mapped
what's modeled is worst case scenario, and
that's good.
Just for me and my questions, that's important to understand. I'm also kind of looking at this and tell me if I'm wrong, but if we were to say, hey, let's do a 3% across the board.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm gonna back up. The dollars associated with the 3.63 percentage, okay, if those dollars were allocated to salaries, a combination of percent on salary and then another alternative compensation model, that's how we can look at that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's how I was looking at it.
Yep, perfect. Okay, awesome. And thank you for that. And now I guess just my opinion, when I look at this thing, is any way you slice it and dice it after the biennium that ends after the year 2028 and 2029, something needs to happen by then anyway, honestly. Whether you sell a building, whether you don't, it doesn't matter. And the last referendum we did, it was to get to this point while getting competitive with our salaries. Where I am personally at, and this is just me, is I'm interested in allocating the 3.63% and then doing something maybe unique where, it's a 3% across the board and then the remaining of the funds get used for alternative compensation.
Well, I guess
That's where I'm at.
So one of the questions that you asked, which I guess I missed or went over my head, was that you have the 12% factored in there for what the maximum could be for healthcare. Okay, so then I'm on board with Pat that the 3.63, I don't see why we can't do that next year.
No, we could get surprised by other costs, but it won't be healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, but the 3.63, this right now is modeled as though it's being shared as if it's a percentage, either concept 1 or 2. But you could do the 3%, and what you said is the 0.63%, that other 70-ish thousand, that's the additional that you'd put. So it's still the 3% plus, let's look at benefits and see what we can do, right? Am I looking at it that way? Otherwise, it's 3.6, yeah, right, yeah.
It's a bucket
Sure,
of money. Right?
absolutely.
Okay, I got you.
But like when we're saying, when we're talking to staff and stuff, it's a difference of 3% on or 3.63. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, I think being clear is very important and want to make sure we do that.
And I think Pat's comment of it's a bucket of money, we're hoping, our fingers are crossed, that our healthcare will come under less than 12%, which is the max. That would give us more money to play with. So I'm going to try to summarize and see if I'm hearing you right. We're looking at somewhere around 3% straight to salary, possibly using the 0.63% part of it for coming back with scenarios on longevity bonuses, on 403B costs, on stuff like that, and trying to come back with something like that for a work session.
Yes.
Am I here?
Yes, I would agree with that.
That's really what we're looking for in this info and discussion session.
I think we are all on the same page
So
about
that-
the application of the merit increases would be applied to every step as well. So I 100% agree. We don't want to have a base,
What do you mean merit increase?
for the merit increases for everybody to not just have
You mean a
a base number.
Salary, oh, so
It's like the
percentage.
concept one was like just give everybody $1,640. That's completely
You say
inequitable.
merit increase, I think you have to sit down with your supervisor and fill out,
Sorry,
I
no,
did a
it's-
3, I got a 4, I got a 2, I got a 2, and then they
That's
give
what I
you
call it, I guess.
Concept one is very strict Act 10 type school districts. Concept two is very pro-educated districts.
Yeah, so I think we're looking at concept 2, 3% to 3.63, whatever. And then some options on what it would look like with the additional monies going
towards the retention.
towards retention.
Okay. Retention and writing or whatever you need to do.
When will we know about the health insurance?
I believe the 31st of March.
So if we had a work session
So
after
we'll
that,
have
it'd be
that
helpful.
information at the workshop.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We did.
Because that should be
gave them
factored in
The very
as well,
hard
right?
deadline of the April board meeting and asked for it for the week before, which was Wednesday the 8th, I believe.
That's probably a pretty big number, between 6 and 12%, I'm guessing. So, great. So workshop, can we shoot? I mean, do you want to just send something out, or do you guys want to look at your calendar, see if that date works? The April, if it doesn't work for everybody, then we're just going to go right to Doodle. Or Courtney, one of the two. April 8th.
Yep.
I mean, it works for me now.
Because we need to have everybody there.
April 8th?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I would hope for. 5 o'clock start time. Try to go 5 to 7. Hopefully it's not that long, but we tend to dig into the weeds a little bit on these things. Everybody good on April 8th?
What time?
5-ish.
We can work around the time if that's too early, Pat.
Well, it's good right now.
All right, let's just shoot for April 8th then.
Lock it in, okay.
Get that on your calendar. Good conversation, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I would say we put it on staff compensation and working conditions. That way if a handbook topic comes up,
Yeah,
we
that's
can
fine.
discuss it too, but we'll focus mostly on compensation, right, Mike?
Yeah, yes. I want to finish one thought that I had that's different than, hasn't been said yet. So with can you go back to the graph of so to Pat's point, 28-29 was what we were shooting for based on when we went to referendum last time. The difference is we didn't include enrollment decline in the previous projections, which is why we're looking a little low right now. And I think that contributed to the $1 million of less money that the state gave us too, right?
That's correct, yes.
So all these projections that we had when we went to referendum, some of them, the enrollment decline was a big one. And I wanted to call that out because we're still pretty close to hitting that projection if we make a few, if we can tighten the belt buckle in some areas somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think, that's a pretty good projection from a referendum perspective. I wanted to call that out because I think that's important for people to know. And
I agree. With tightening our belts a little bit, we should be able to make 20% through 28-29. We should be able to be at that amount.
yeah, which gives me more confidence that, I think we can maybe err a little bit higher on some of this.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, thank you. All right, I think that is end of staff compensation. And we talked about insurance update. Did you want to do anything else or no?
Yeah, as far as, the insurance update is, that's just in there. So last year we got a -2% increase, and we had 84% of our usage. This year we're on pace to have 87.4%, and that's kind of where we're hoping, and our fingers are crossed, we'll end up around 6% of an increase in health insurance instead of the 12. But the 12 is the max.
Okay, great. So board, we're gonna move on if anybody has any questions. All right, the staff handbook.
Mike, I'm sorry, just maybe for our workshop, just a reminder of how long our current locked-in rate contract for health insurance lasts for.
Get that on the workbook.
Just have that.
Yeah.
Just as information.
What's our lock-in? Yeah, how long is that? How long are we locked in for? And then, yeah, we'll just stop there. Go to item D, handbook.
So the handbook is kind of another way we can really take care of our staff and attract and retain the best staff. And sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit earlier, Mike, but
just pick up where you left
Yep.
off.
Okay. So we've had several meetings. We're looking at local handbooks. Topics that have been raised by our staff. We've talked about some of them already. The vesting period for 403B, how many sick days they get, what do they get paid out for sick days, what's the vesting period for getting paid out for sick days, paid time off, all in one bank. There's quite a few comments on the survey that says I'm tired of lying. So if staff members run out of personal time and something happens and they have to take care of their dog or whatever, what do they do? Bereavement time and language, clarifications of extracurriculars. We're missing a few extracurricular activities that we need to list and deal with. Increased amount of money being paid out for sick days. Consistency with blackout days. Are they being used the same across the district? And we had a good conversation about some type of exception for a quote once in a decade where somebody could apply and say, hey, I can save $8,000 on my flight to Italy if I take the Friday before spring break off. Can I do that kind of thing? Creativity with limited sick time payout each year. Can they take a few days each year and get money added into their HSA or cash? Longevity bonuses and pay bumps. We talked about that as a possibility already. More staff pride events, items, and events to build consistency K-12. And then we've been talking about with the Alera study for the last couple of years is trying to get some of that consistency across the pay schedule. The new staff versus the experienced staff, that's a lot where that longevity bonus comes up. We're going to have the final survey turned in by March 25th. Ashley and I are going to work on language, get feedback from a couple board members, the superintendent advisory committee, and the administration team, and then hopefully bring the language to the board in April if all works well, but more likely we're going to bring it to you in May, and then it would be voted on in June, and then published to go into effect July 1st. My plan, as long as I'm here, will always be to have any changes highlighted on the document because it's a 100 and some odd page document and it's just a whole lot easier for our staff to find the highlighted parts than the non-highlighted parts.
Vicki, any comments or questions on this?
I don't have any questions. You've got a timeline. The staff has till the 25th?
Yes, yes, I resent it out again today.
Okay.
But I realize it's 3 days before spring break and kids are 3 days before spring break, so. So yeah, we'll send it out again after spring break, but they've had it for about a week now.
Okay.
All right, Helen?
No other questions.
Vicki?
Tanya, and no, you're good. No questions. I think we're just kind of beginning on this. I'd like to see somewhat of a process laid out and timeline, so I think that's good for our staff to see as well.
No questions.
No, I appreciate the proactiveness on the handbook updates this early and the transparency on it. I'll leave it at that. I think this is a really good step in the right direction here. Anything else? Otherwise, we're going to Bert. Bert Grover Award, last one.
So each year, WASDA, the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators, gives out several awards, and one of the most coveted ones is the Business Support Award, and these are for businesses that support school districts in Wisconsin. That came across my desk in January, and I had to reach out and ask a question that they had never had before. So the committee met and had a conversation and said, yes, Minnesota businesses that support Wisconsin schools are eligible. So we submitted a lot of work from Sarah and Michael, as well as Courtney and I, and we submitted Afton Apple. And Afton Apple is going to be the 2026 recipient of the Burt Grover Business Support Award for the entire state of Wisconsin. They set a priority for advocating for the welfare of Wisconsin youth, and one of their efforts is to recognize a business that does this in an exceptional way. You all know, so in April 23rd, I think it is, 22nd or 23rd, there's a 3-day superintendent's conference at the Oosthoff Resort in Elkhart Lake, and Afton Apple will be there, and I'll be there to present their award on behalf of WASDA, and Josh Figge is leading your group because one of the requirements is we produce a 5 to 7 minute video about their impact on Prescott schools. So that will be played, and we'll make sure that we blast this out on our social media and go through there. Afton Apple has known for about a week or so.
That's great.
Helen?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
That's amazing. She kind of outed you because we had a parent meeting, so. It's supposed to be a surprise.
To give a positive surprise.
That's good. I mean, I can't say enough. They're amazing. Every aspect they're a part of. So, I mean, it's just amazing. And they constantly are going back and asking, wait, instead of just giving, they're asking, what do you need of our staff and our schools? And they're amazing. Yeah.
Well, and I think the same thing, that they definitely are not just, they want to know what we need. And they make a very concerted effort to find that out. They have kids in the school, even though the business is on the other side of the river. Family business is over there, but they do have some family that lives here, and some of the kids are in the school. So I'd love to see that support of our schools from a local business. I'll call them a local business because they really are.
Oh, just amazing for Afton Apple. Thank you for all that they do and continue to do. So cool that our administration and Jim, that you took the initiative to ask that question. That is cool, and amazing to the staff and the rest of the administration for, doing the video and taking that extra effort to make sure that Afton Apple is recognized the right way. So great job all around to everybody. Really cool.
Yeah. I don't want to repeat too much, but we have amazing, we recognized Patax earlier in this meeting too. It's just one of the reasons why I'm proud to be part of this school district and this community is just the wonderful things our businesses do to support our kids in our school districts. And it's just a reminder that schools really are the center stone of communities, and Afton sees that, and they show it, they represent, they show up, they ask, what do you need, rather than this is what we believe in and want to give. So I think it's great. So congratulations. Thank you for doing that. I know it also is a lot of work to nominate anyone, so that's not a light task. And so all around, really, really great news at the end of a meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Well said, everybody. That's it for info and discussion, so we're on the recognition of visitors. Anybody care to come up, approach the podium? Yeah. You're
so unscripted.
I'm an employee.
All right.
Can I say that?
You gotta say it.
Jamie McDonough, 5th grade teacher. Normally if I'm here in March or April, I'm like grumpy and crying, but none of that. Jim doesn't know. It's a sight to be seen. I just want to, I think, maybe speak a little bit on behalf of the OGs that we appreciated hearing you focus on the right R word, which is retention. That was a big conversation looking at the pay scale, was recruitment. So it was really nice to hear that only giving the lowest brand new cell that percent increase wasn't the right thing to do, because I think that would have felt like a big slap, so I appreciate hearing that. The willingness, Mr. Reef, to look at the handbook issues. We know we don't always get what we want, but hopefully we get what we need. Okay, but yeah, I'm just here to be nice and say thank you, and also just a friendly plug that when we looked at the pay stuff last year, some of us kept saying, but what about those that paid for their masters, and what about that big discrepancy? And the conversation always shifted back to not that group. I'm very familiar with the dwindling fund balance, so I understand your concerns, but I just hope that that stays on the radar, that conversation was last year said, we will get there, that's something we will look at it, we're not forgetting about you, but we needed to get something done for last year. So I hope that that part doesn't get forgotten, but thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie. Anybody else?
You're always very pleasant. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, we're going to move on. The board is going to consider a motion to convene in closed session under the exemptions 1985 1C and 1G in room 109. And anything else I got to call out here? One of them is for consider employment, promotion, compensation. I feel like I don't have to do this.
No, you don't have to read it. It's in the.
Read the statutes, 1985 1C and 1G. So we need a motion and a second to go, and a time to go into closed session. Once we get into closed session, or get to the room, we'll roll call into closed session.
I move to convene in closed session under the exemptions 1985 in room 109, Prescott High School at 8:55 p.m.
8:55.
How about 7:55?
Yeah, probably 7:55.
I'm struggling with my eyes.
Yeah. Daylight savings.
7:55, yeah.
All right, 7:55. Pat, got the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll reconvene at 7:55. Will we have any motions?
Yes, there will be at least one.
So we will have one, we will convene back into open session and make one motion, potentially. And that will be held in room 109 with the door open in case anybody wants to hang out in the office. Or where's 109? Is that over here?
I think it's this room.
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be over here. Thank you, everyone.